On Thursday, Matt Taibbi appeared before the House Select Subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government, along with Twitter Files co-reporter Michael Schellenberger. Pardon me. Liberals, and to their great shame, many leftists, are celebrating the following clip in which they claim that Debbie Wasserman Schultz exposed or owned Matt Taibbi for his lack of integrity. So we're going to play this. Russell and I did not do a dry run of this. We didn't rehearse this. So, Russell, if you have anything to say, just start talking and I'll stop. But we're going to kind of stop and start. It's only about 3 minutes, but here we go.
Mr. Taibbi, I want to ask about journalistic ethics and information sources. The Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics asserts that journalists should avoid political activities that can compromise integrity or credibility. Being a Republican witness today certainly casts a cloud over your objectivity. But
what? First of all, straight up, what? He was called before the committee to testify. He appeared before the committee to testify. The fact that he was called by a Republican calls into question his objectivity. I don't understand that.
Well, Wasserman Schultz represents really everything that's wrong with the Democratic Party. She's deeply corrupt. This is somebody who's so shameless. She got fired as the DNC chair for rigging the primaries. And she's going to sit up there and question Matt Taibbi's integrity. She has repeatedly come out against marijuana legalization. One of her biggest donors, strangely, is a liquor lobby.
Oh, interesting.
And she's always coming. Until the Democratic Party in Florida decided not to take private prison money anymore, she was one of the biggest recipients of private prison money. So she just absolutely no ethics. And you watch the tack that she takes here. It's really the McCarthy hearings, and that was not just her. That was kind of a running theme. But she particularly dug in with innuendo and insinuation, and of all people to take that tack, somebody who got fired by the deeply corrupt DNC for being too corrupt.
Right.
You're going to sit
clumsy
here
in her corruption to survive
Right. You're going to sit here and talk about his compromised integrity. I mean, she's such a disgusting pig. I honestly, I don't know how you could sit there and not call her that. Like, I'd wind up in contempt of Congress, man. Like, my hat's off to these guys, man. Like, I don't know how you don't say you are a corrupt little pig. How do you not say that to her as she's conducting herself this way?
I tweeted a similar thing at him for that exact reason. All right, let's hear more.
Deeper concern that I have relates to the ethics of how journalists receive and present certain information. Journalists should avoid accepting spoon-fed, cherry-picked information if it's likely to be slanted, incomplete, or designed to reach a foregone, easily disputed, or invalid conclusion. Would you agree with that?
I think it depends.
Really? You wouldn't agree that a journalist should avoid spoon-fed, cherry-picked information if it's likely to be slanted, incomplete, or designed to reach a foregone, easily disputed, or invalid conclusion?
Congresswoman, I've done probably a dozen stories involving whistleblowers. Every reported story that I've ever done across 3 decades involves sources who have motives. Every time you do a story, you're making a balancing test between the public interest.
Reclaiming my time. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So this is a central question of this whole thing here. One of the central questions of this whole debate is Elon Musk a whistleblower or is he not? Because the libs, the blue MAGA fascists, yes, do not consider Elon Musk a whistleblower because in their very sort of third grade understanding of power, they feel like, well, he can't possibly be considered a whistleblower because he's now the second richest man on earth. So Elon therefore represents institutional power. And because he represents institutional power, he cannot be seen as a whistleblower exposing the corruption of institutional power. And I would just have to push back on that. Say, like, yes, obviously he's the second richest man on earth, and obviously he is more powerful than the average Joe because of that. But when we talk about institutional power, you're not just talking about individual net worth. You're talking about the extent to which these rich men can integrate themselves into systems and institutions that wield tremendous power. No doubt Elon could do that if he wanted to, but he really hasn't. If he did, there would be no Twitter files, right? If he did, he would have played ball, and none of this would have been coming out. And so that's just a misunderstanding of theirs. I think Wasserman Schultz is probably smart enough to know that. She just plays the game because she's a good, lapdog. But I think a lot of even the more well-meaning of the blue MAGA people don't understand that. They just can't see Elon Musk as a whistleblower type because he's rich.
Well, it's ironic that this is centering on Matt Taibbi, because Matt Taibbi has written so extensively about how their tactic with anyone who challenges their narratives is what he calls to throw the ick on them. Right. And that's what they're furiously trying to do with Musk. For us who are civil libertarians, Musk does pose a complicated situation. I mean, I think where we're coming from in terms of economics, don't think someone like Elon Musk should really exist. We don't.
Oh, no, not as a multi-billionaire, no.
Not as a multi-billionaire. And he's an asshole. This is a guy who started making cracks about the Thai divers being pedophiles and just, crazy. He's an asshole. He's a total asshole. That's not the question. They're all assholes. Bezos is an asshole. Bill Gates I think he should be in prison for the way that he propagandized to defend the IP of the pharmaceutical companies during COVID.
Right.
So you've got an asshole among assholes who decides to challenge the assholes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So who am I supposed to side with? That asshole or the other assholes? I'm going to side with the asshole that, at least in these particular battles, I seem to have common interests with.
Well, exactly.
For whatever reason, Musk has decided to make his own life really difficult. Because if you're Elon Musk, all you need to do is shut the fuck up and not ask any questions. And, Elon, he's saving the world. That's how they talked about him until 5 minutes ago, right?
Right, exactly.
And then once he turned around and started challenging their narratives, now he became the Antichrist. And, if they really cared about the conduct of people like Elon Musk, they'd be looking at Jeff Bezos, who has much more systemic impact on our society via his control of the Washington Post than Elon Musk does.
And this is the question that Taibbi raised there. He says, look, every time you have a whistleblower come to you with information, they always have an axe to grind.
Right.
There wouldn't be whistleblowers if they didn't have an axe to grind. They don't risk everything for no fucking reason. They do it because they're pissed about something and they want to air it out. So, of course, they have a motivation. And yes, as Matt said there, you have to parse, okay, to what extent is their motivation influencing this in a way that could be deceptive or manipulative? That's why you have to vet the information and ultimately decide to run with it or not run with it based on how true it is and how relevant it is to the story you want to tell. All right, so here we go. Let's play more.
Okay. I ask you this because before you became Elon Musk's hand-picked journalist, and pardon the oxymoron.
It's not an oxymoron. You're a fucking moron. That's not an That's not an oxymoron.
On Joe Rogan's podcast about being spoon-fed information, and I quote, "I think that's true of any kind of journalism," and you'll see it behind me here. "I think that's true of any kind of journalism. Once you start getting handed things, then you've lost. They have you at that point, and you got to get out of that habit. You just can't cross that line. Do you still believe what you told Mr. Rogan? Yes or no? Yes or no?"
Yes.
Good. Now, you crossed that line with the Twitter files.
No.
Elon Musk.
And the reason he says no is because of what we were just saying, right? It all depends. How do you view Elon in his role as CEO?
Well,
is he a whistleblower or does he represent the institutional power that the Democrats want to claim he does? Because they claim that Twitter is unfair to them and lets the Republicans run wild, right? All right, here we go.
My time. Please do not interrupt me.
I love this whole, the whole format of this is so fucked. The whole format is for them to grandstand.
They conduct it like a trial.
Yeah, but
where
it's even-
the prosecutors never want you to go off the very direct, narrow parameters of their questions. And if you try, they'll start yelling and talking.
Yeah,
about
reclaiming
like
my
that.
time. Right.
Yeah.
It's all for them to grandstand and get their digs in. I mean,
Right.
that's what this
Right.
is. This isn't really about him being there.
Elon Musk spoon-fed you his cherry-picked information, which you must have suspected promotes a slanted viewpoint, or at the very least generates another right-wing conspiracy theory. You violated your own standard, and you appear to have benefited from it. Before the release...
Okay, first of all, before we get to how he benefited from it, the whole idea of conspiracy theory, I mean, you have every Twitter Files drop contains mountains of evidence to go with every claim that they make.
Right.
These are the people who insist that the reason they are censoring is not to police speech, but is to protect against a nefarious foreign threat, which they have not really been able to produce any evidence for in any great quantity. So who are the conspiracy theorists here?
Well, you know who her number one donor is? Israel lobby.
Yeah.
So if you really want to go looking for foreign influence in American elections, you should probably look in that direction. But that's a direction that she's uniquely disinclined to look in. In fact, I believe it was the 2016 election, where some very direct evidence came out about Israeli interference in the election. And really. And there were some
laughing at Barron. He says, please change this image. Doesn't like the screenshot. Pause the latest. All right. We're going to get back to this in a second. I'll honor
we
your
can't
request.
blame. But this is what they've been doing since the DNC leaks. If they have been trying to condition their brain dead followers to accept the premise that the source of information can discredit information even if it's true.
Exactly.
Right? That's really the argument that she's making. It came from Elon Musk, so she's not arguing that it's not true.
It's the same as Matt Binder going after Elon Musk for the Jacob Chansley thing. Like, it's all of a piece. These people do not state their actual intentions, their actual positions. Right.
All right.
Well,
because they're indefensible based
Of
on
course.
their own purported values.
In August of last year, you had 661,000 Twitter followers. After the Twitter Files, your followers doubled, and now it's 3 times what it was last August. I imagine your Substack readership, which is a subscription, increased significantly because of the work that you did for Elon Musk. Now, I'm not asking you to put a dollar figure on it, but it's quite obvious that you've profited from the Twitter Files. You hit the jackpot on that Vegas slot machine to which you referred. That's true, isn't it?
I've also reinvested.
You've made some... No. Is it true that you have profited since you were the recipient of the Twitter Files? You've made money. Yes or no?
I think it's probably a wash, honestly.
No, you have made money that you did not have before, correct?
But I've also spent money that I didn't have before. I just hired a whole group of people to
Patently
investigate.
obvious answer, reclaiming my time.
Okay, see, this is where I actually have some constructive criticism for Matt Taibbi, because he is way, way, way too nice in these situations.
That's
in
what I'm
debates
saying.
in general,
I would wind up in contempt of Congress.
way too nice in these situations.
Like, I want to jump through the screen watching her.
I mean, it's incredible. Did you profit off of this? Now, he feels a need to say, well, I kind of broke even because I spent money hiring a team. The point is, my answer, if I'm asked that, is, hey, I'm a professional journalist. I do this for a living. I'm compensated for my work. So, yes, I did profit off of it to an extent. And to what extent I did is none of your business, you raisin-faced, snake-haired, Medusa-looking stooge. That's what I would have told her. That's what I would have told her. Because it's not relevant.
And you know what? At that point, you'd have a better shot at the presidency than Marianne Williamson.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Because look, you don't ask a surgeon before you go under for surgery, hey, wait a minute, doctor, are you profiting off of this operation? He would look at you like you grew a second head. He'd be, well, yes, I'm a doctor. This is my job. I do this for a living. Yes, I get paid for this. Yes, in that sense, I'm profiting off of the operation. This is what I do. What should Elon Musk have given the Twitter Files emails to what? A basketball player who was willing to do it for free?
Right.
So there was no conflict. Like, what are you saying? He gave it to a professional journalist so that it was in good hands. And yeah, the professional journalist has gained a big following, as he deserves to have gained a big following. It was a great piece of work. So, like, what is your point? What is your point? Oh, did you make money off of this?
Well, so much of this, their absolute hatred of Joe Rogan, their hatred of Matt Taibbi. You know what? Joe Rogan has the #1 podcast in the country. And I believe even before the Twitter files, Matt Taibbi was the most successful journalist on Substack. So if, as she says, and I have no cause to doubt it, his subscribers have tripled, he's way out ahead now of any journalist on Substack. This drives them crazy because whenever people are able to vote with their purchases, with their feet, you can see how hated these elites and their narratives are, because anyone who can effectively offer a counter narrative becomes wildly popular. And when you look at the people who peddle their narratives, like CNN, MSNBC, well, they got 20 people who watch that shit.
Please clap.